everybody. It's Monday, so it still seems strange to have a class on Monday. I've been enjoying doing this pillow, though. So this was a good time to do it, and hopefully people are going to be able to find me tonight. I found myself, so that's always a good sign. So I think it's working for me. Oh, people are starting to come in. Just a second here. I'm going to turn so I can see the comments. People are starting to find me, so how's everybody having a good Monday? I had lots of errands today. I spend lots of time doing errands on Mondays. I had to go to the dentist, so I got that over with. And Dad had an appointment, and then I had the dentist appointment, and then I went, and then I had to go get the groceries. You know, it's just one of those days. Who said hi? Hi, Deb. Not too many people found us yet. Hopefully everybody's able to get in okay. It looks like everything's working tonight. Okay, so that's really good. So I got 4 people. So I'll wait a few minutes to see if people can find us. Return. How are you? I don't know who that said that. God evening. Oh, good evening. Okay. Who said that? That was Pat. And Deb? Oh, Deb, you said, how are you? I'm fine. It was just a wild day. You know, it's my normal Monday that I just run around all over the place. So, okay. Oh, we got a few people coming in. It's funny. It's supposed to tell me how many people are actually here, but I don't think it actually does. So there's a lot more people that have spoken to me than 3. And sometimes when I go back and look to see how many people actually came to the live, there was like 40 or 50 people, and my count only said like 15 or 20 or something. So I don't know what causes that. I am fine, Shannon. How are you? Hi, Clara. Good that you can join us tonight. I miss seeing you. But this way we can at least speak to each other, huh? So anyway, I have been, I'm learning something new. It's kind of rainy. Yeah, it rained here a little today. It hasn't been too bad though. So I'm learning something new, as if I need another hobby. But I've always wanted to learn to make cards. And so I went to a card place yesterday and they had kits. So I thought, well, that would be a good way for me to start because things would be kind of ready and I could just put it together and learn how the parts go together and stuff. So I was playing this afternoon. I had about an hour to play. So I made a little Santa Christmas card. Isn't that cute? With I love Christmas cards. So I saw these. Do you listen to some of my videos, Clara? So anyway, I made this little Santa Christmas card today. He's so cute. He has lots of different little pieces. There's lots of little layers on him. And then the other one I made was this one. And they said it was a shaker card. I didn't have any idea what that was. So the shaker card has there's like a space in here. And you can put stuff in there like sequins and stuff and it shakes. So then I made this little cup. So that's the other one that I made today. I have fun doing that. I'm getting better I have trouble getting the cardstock on straight. So I'm struggling with that in the ribbons. So, but this was fun. I have a die cutting machine and I have for a long time. So I've always wanted to use it. I've never cut paper with it. So I thought it'd be fun. So anyway, I've been making some Christmas cards today. So I did a couple of them. So it was really fun. Okay, so let's see. Do we have a few people here? It says we only have 7. Maybe no one. Oh, hi, Orlin. Happy birthday. Orlin's here. Happy birthday, Orlin. Aren't those cute? I thought they were really cute. So yeah, so I was having fun today. I sat downstairs and I'm very awkward with the glue and the adhesive. I got the back on this one a little bit wonky, but it still looks pretty. So I'm learning and I really like this die. This is a die. And then it's like in I don't know, 1, 2, 3, about 3 layers in different layers of fabric. And I thought, I might have to, or paper, I might have to order that die. I like that die. He's so cute. I love Santa. So anyway, I was having fun today. That was my little, had a couple hours this afternoon to sit and work on something fun. So, okay. So tonight, we're going to work on 2 blocks tonight. And the first one we're going to do is the little flower block. Let me get my pillow here. We're going to do this little flower block down here, right here. And this one is done a little bit differently, bringing it in to the designs in, I should say, because they have to be lined up differently. And that's why I chose that one. And then the other one we're going to do is this piece block right here. Okay, so we're going to do this one, and this one is quilted slightly differently. So that's why I chose those 2. And then I have videoed the others, and the video will be up on Facebook right after class. Let me get back to my comments here. And the video will be up right after class, and then I will put it up on YouTube just shortly after class. So, but then I videoed then the little pie block and then the little watermelon block. And these are done very similarly to the cherries that we did last week. Okay. So these are the ones that I have videoed for you. So you'll have the next 4 blocks to work on for the next week. And then next week we'll work on the borders and the flanges. Okay. So we won't finish all of them in class, but I'll do 2 borders probably and 2 flanges. So then you can finish the other ones on your own. And they're really fun and easy to do, but it's just a little different technique because you have to kind of multi-hoop them. Okay. So it's not hard, and they go actually very quickly because I do a couple at a time. And if you have a little bit longer hoop, they go faster. So that's what we'll do next week. Okay. So let me see here what we need to get ready for. Okay, so I think I got everything ready. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the camera down on the machine, and we'll get started. Just a second here. Change my camera. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So let me know if you can't hear me. All right. Okay, so we're going to start with the little flower block here. I got my batting out of the way here for a second. And here's my book. All right, so the flower block is going to be done in the 5x7 hoop. You're going to hoop, of course, your no-show mesh stabilizer because we're going to be quilting this in the hoop. Okay, so I've got no-show mesh in there. And then the pieces of fabric you'll need are, whoops, let me raise my foot here so I can slip this under here. The pieces of fabric you'll need, there is the background piece, and then on that is going to be a piece of shape flex on the back of it. So I've got shape flex on my background piece here. And that was kind of a white, kind of a herringbone color. And then you need this little brown piece for the center of the flower. And then there's a green piece for the stems and the little leaves of the flower. And then there's 2 pieces of yellow, 2 different yellows for the flower itself. And then there's a little piece of brown for the flower pot. Okay. So there's several appliques in this one. But the reason I chose this one for the live class is this one has a slightly different arrangement for putting the design into the machine with the quilting design. Okay, so we're going to go over here to the machine, and I'm going to show you that because that's the different thing. So it says that we're going to be using, it tells me up on the top to use wavy 4, and it's going to be 4x6. We're going to use a 5x7 hoop. So the first thing I'm going to bring in, just like we did before, is we're going to bring in the quilting design. So I'm going to go to my stick, and I'm going to go to my Kimberbell quilting, and I'm going to go down to wavy. This is wavy 4. Oops, not quite there yet. Keep going. Wavy 4. Okay, and then here's the embroidery files. Oops, hope you can't see it very well, probably. PES. Come on, my fingers. My fingers don't always work on screens. Sorry. There we go. And it says to use the horizontal design. So when I did this, I wanted the wavies to go this way on my block. So I'm going to find the 4x6 is what it said. So I have to go down a little ways to the 4x6, 4x4, 4x4. Here's 4x6. And I want it to be the wavies going horizontally. Okay, so we're going to use that one. So I'm going to grab, whoops, make sure I get the right one. 4x6 wavy. There we go. So grab that one. Okay, so there's my block. Okay, and that's my quilting. So now I'm going to bring in the block. So I'm going to go to set down here, and then I'm going to go ahead and add. At the bottom here, I need to add, and I'm going to get my flower. So let's go find the flower on my stick. And I got to find Sweet Land of Liberty. Here it is. And the embroidery files. Oops, come on. Sorry, my fingers don't always work. And then we need the one that says 5x7, the flower. Okay, so we're going to grab that one. Okay, and we're going to bring it in. Now, this is where things change. Okay, who said hi? Oh, hi, Pam. Hello. For those of you who just came in, I haven't seen who it was. Sorry, I can't see everybody's name. Remember, after class, if you haven't clicked the little link in the video on Facebook, there's a little link that will, if you go click on it, it will allow me to see your names through StreamYard. So if you don't mind me seeing who you are, please do that. After class, you can just go click on that little link and you can just tell StreamYard it's okay to see your name. I can see it on my tablet because I'm in the class right now, but it's easier sometimes if I have both computers. So if you haven't done that, please do. Okay. So we got our little flower up here, but the difference is it says in bold letters here, these files are not centered. Align the block embroidery file with the quilting design file so that the bottom of the pot is 1/4 inch above the bottom of the quilting design file. So this is a little bit small. So we're going to set this, and I can actually bring this up here. So let's bring it up a little bit bigger so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, let's bring it up maybe to 200%. Okay, now, so what it's saying is that we need the bottom line here is where we're going to be trimming it off, basically. So we need to move the flower down so that it's at the bottom of the quilting part, so that you can see there's like 2 lines here. Okay, so the line that is the batting placement and tack down is basically the line that we want the bottom of the pot to be on, because then when we go to sew it together, it's going to sew the seam right up to the end bottom of the pot. Okay, so I'm going to move this. This is selected. You can see my flowers selected. I'm going to hit edit and move, and I'm just going to move it down to the bottom of the line up the bottom of the flower pot with the bottom of like basically the batting line. And you can see I've got another 1/4 inch down below. So see, this is where the seam allowance is going to be right here. Okay. And if you don't want it to be right at the bottom, what I did with mine is I just kind of did a bump or two, just a teeny bit above, in case my seam allowance was slightly too large. So that way I wouldn't be sewing into my satin stitch. Somebody asked, how do I select the flower pot? Nancy, what I did is I hit the word add down here. So I got my quilting design up first, and then I hit the word, I set it, and then I hit add, and I went back to my stick and got the flower pot. So I can have them both in there at the same time. Okay. All right. Yeah, because that would have been different than your older machine because it didn't allow you to add. This one does a lot more, doesn't it? It allows you to edit on the screen, which is really cool. Okay, so there I have it just slightly above that bottom line because sometimes I get a little, over exuberant with my seam allowances, and so I just bumped it up like one little bump above that batting line. Okay, then I have enough for my seam allowance. Okay, so that's the difference with this one is that you do not align it in the center like most of the other ones. You just align them in the center. In fact, the next one is going to be in the center. Okay, or the other two, I should say, that I filmed will be in the center. Okay, got that, but I don't know how to select the pot to move. Oh, to select it to, okay, so when you bring it in, it's selected. So here, let me just take it out for you again real quick, and I'll bring it in for you again. Okay, Nancy, that'll help you. So I'm going to hit add down here. Okay. And then when you bring in the second one, it should be selected. Because if you see red lines around it, it's selected. So I'm going, whoops, second here. I'm going to go to Sweet Land of Liberty, embroidery files. And then here's my flower. Okay. So now you can see when I bring it up on the screen, I'm going to set it. See how it's got the red lines around it now and not the quilting design. The red lines, so it should come in selected for you. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up to 200% so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to hit edit and move. I'm going to move it down. There we go. Okay, so that way we know it's going to set on the bottom of the, okay, that on the bottom line. Yours doesn't come in, oh, didn't come in selected. Well, if it's not selected, okay, so if the other one's selected, just go touch the flower. Touch it with your finger. And then it should be just this part that's selected. Can you see how if I touch out here, it's the quilting design, and in here is the flower. Okay, and then you can move it. That's probably the easiest way, is just to touch it. All right, so we got that all lined up, and I've got my 1/4 inch at the bottom. That's going to be my seam allowance. Okay, and I'm going to hit embroidery. Okay, so now we're ready for the first step. Let me get, and I've got my white thread. I'm going to quilt this one in white. Going to quilt this one in white. And so I'm just going to put my white thread in. I got my white embroidery thread in, and I've got white, just regular bobbin thread in the bobbin, embroidery bobbin thread in the bobbin. And the first step then, because we're doing the quilting first, is always the batting placement lines. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Remember, I don't cut my batting in advance. I just use a chunk and slap it up there. Second, I got to get my book out of the way here. All right. Whoops. Got a couple chunks in here. So this is not a real big block. So it turned out it's nice that we can do these in a 5x7. I think both of these will do 5x7 tonight. Okay, so then I'm going to lay this in. I think it's actually big enough, yeah, to lay this way. So I'm just going to lay it in there. You know, I've got my little chunk over here. And then step number 2 is going to be the tack down line for my batting. Hi, Jackie. This pillow has been so much fun. I really enjoy these. I really like these square pillows. They're not as big, and some of the bench pillows have so many embellishments. These have been so fun because they don't have quite as many embellishments, and they go really fast. So the blocks have been nice and easy and relaxing. Okay, so now we've got our batting tacked down, and we're going to trim the batting close to the stitches. Oops. And my chunk of batting up there, we'll need that in a little bit. Hopefully you don't see just my hand. I'm kind of pulling up on the side so I'm trying to trim it all on the hoop for you. It's hard sometimes in the machine to trim. All right, so there is the batting. So the next step then in all of the quilting designs are the same. The next step is going to be the placement line for the fabric. So we're going to sew out step number 4, or I'm sorry, step number 3. And that's going to be our placement line for our backing fabric. And I'm just leaving my white in for all of this. Let's see which way I got this going here. And then remember on my backing fabric, I have my shape flex on the back. Okay, and then we're going to lay this down over the batting and center it as best we can. And then step number 4 is always the tack down line for the backing fabric. This was a really fun one. This was a cute block. Okay. And then the 5th step is always the quilting. So then we're just going to go on and do the quilting on the background. And I'm going to leave my white in for that. So it's going to do all the little wavy, the horizontal wavies. Off it goes. This was a really cute new pattern. They had the little bundle, for this pillow, and it was really cute because all the designs were. I really like this wavy one. I'll probably use this one quite a bit. And I'm using. People keep asking me what kind of batting I use, and I use my scraps of Hobbs. That's my favorite batting because it has just a little bit of loft, and it's an 80-20, so it's not all cotton. And I like it because it gives just a little bit more loft, I think, too. And you can see the sculpting of the like the quilting and stuff a little bit better. The cotton batting or the lighter weight batting sometimes are a little bit. This is not very heavy though; it's not stiff at all. But this just has a little bit more texture to it. All right, it's just a zipping along here. Yeah, it got kind of warm here today. I'm not ready for the hot weather. I don't really like the hot weather. Heat bothers me a lot more than it used to. And then I think the first step is going to be, it's going to be the leaves. So we'll do the leaves next. Just got a couple more little lines to go. I just love this quilting method. It's so great. I love it for the pillows. Can you use fusible fleece? Yeah, you could use fusible fleece. That would be fine. I hardly ever use fusible fleece unless I'm sewing. So yeah, you could. I prefer batting because this has a little bit more loft, but you could use it. Yes, it would work. If that's all you've got, that will work just fine. All right, so the next step. So now we're actually in the steps of the flower, and this is the first step, and it's going to be the placement line for the leaf fabric. And we're going to, this is step number 2 actually on page 24 of the instructions. So we're going to do the placement line for the little leaves. Oops, I missed here just a second. Sometimes I do that and I don't pull my thread back far enough. There we go. All right, so we're going to do our placement line for this fabric. Let me get my fabric ready here. So we have our little leaves and our stem, I guess. Yep. We're going to put this on. Oh, hi, Marianne. You're fine. Okay, so we're going to lay this over our placement line here. I'll have to show Marianne my cards. If you were late, Marianne, I'm learning to make cards, and you make cards too. So I'll have to show you my little cards again while this is stitching, so Marianne can see them. So here's my little, I made a little Christmas card today. I'm learning to make cards. And then here's my other one I did use today. I had little kits that you know, a lot of it was cut, but it was nice because then I learned how to layer and stuff. So they turned out cute. But Marianne likes to make cards too, don't you, Marianne? All right, so now we need to trim our little leaves. And we're going to trim close to the stitches. Now this one's going to have, I think, a decorative stitch. That's why I made sure that I used my matching thread for my fabric. And this was moss green, just so you know, 515 moss green. And this is the brother colors that I'm using. And when they have those motif stitches, it's best to use a matching thread for your tack downs because sometimes they show through. And I kind of do all the time because I've gotten stuck a couple of times that I didn't realize it was a motif stitch, and I used a different color and then it showed. So I just changed my thread for all of the tack downs to the color I know I'm going to be using for the satin or the motif or whatever it is. That way I don't get caught by accident. Sometimes, you know, every now and then I think it looks like a satin stitch and then it's a motif stitch. And I'm like, whoops. So I just started. Yeah. Oh yeah, Jackie, you didn't get to see him either. Yeah, I showed him at the beginning. I've always wanted to make cards, and I have a friend that makes cards. My friend Lynn makes cards, and so she's been encouraging us to try it. So I need another hobby like a hole in the head, but you know, it's fun. It's just something different to learn. Okay, so now the next step then is going to be the decorative stitch around, and it is a motif stitch. And then we're going to get ready, and we're going to do the flower next. So I'll get my yellow ready. Oh, you mean the pillow, Kathy? Yeah. Okay. So the pillow, I put the affiliate link up on our website or on the Facebook page that you can click to buy the design and the quilting designs. And then if you want the fabric kit, I bought my fabric kit from my girlfriend's quilt shop out in Utah. So I did buy a fabric kit. It was just easier than having to try to find everything. So it is sort of separate. You have to buy the designs, and they're from Kimberbell directly. And then you have to buy, and you can buy the fabric from my girlfriend's quilt shop if you want to. Or you can just use your own fabric. There's really not a ton of fabrics in this one. Oh, Becky almost missed it. You're here in time. You can see a little bit of the beginning later if you want. And I told everybody that the other video that I made for the other two blocks, the last two blocks of the 8, will be up on YouTube shortly after class, and then also on Facebook when we're done. It'll be posted on Facebook, so you can watch the other 2 blocks too. Okay, so there is our little leaves and stem. So now we're ready to move on to the flower. So the flower, I'm going to go back to my golden basket, which is number 1300, and I'm going to use my yellow. If I get a hold of it here. And we're going to do the flower. So there's 2 sections to the flower. There's 2 different colored yellows in it. So we're going to do the first section. But the first thing will be the placement line, so we know where to put our fabric down. See if I can get a hold of it. I'm going to use the plain one first. It doesn't matter. There's a plain and a printed one, so it doesn't really matter. You can use either one you want. They show in the picture the plain one, so that's why I think I chose that one. And this is on the bottom, page 24 of the instructions. So it's like little hexagons. All right, getting the last one down there. There we go. Now I noticed I got a little tail here, so give me a second to trim my tail. All right. There. All right, so we're going to lay this over those 3 little pieces. There's plenty of fabric. And then the next step will be the tack down line. And again, I'm leaving my golden basket in there because I wanted to match, because I think these are also motif stitches. Yes. So these are also motif stitches. So I'd recommend using matching thread for your tack downs. Otherwise, it may show through. I really like the little stems. Those are cute. Get those on there. Kind of looking ahead so I know which direction I'm going here. Anybody have any questions so far? You doing okay? Kathy, if you need some help with the ordering, let me know and I'll help you. If you want to get the kit. Well, I'm glad you were able to get here, Becky. You didn't miss it. We still got a ways to go, so we'll be good. Okay, so now I'm going to trim this close to the stitches around those 3 separate little hexagons. So I'm just going to, hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Oops. A lot of little sides to trim. Whoops, here, I missed this one. Lots of little pieces. Each one of these has 6 sides, so you got to remember to get them all. There you go. Okay. All right, so there's the first color of yellow. And then, of course, you know, we need another placement line. So I'm going to put this back in. I'm leaving my yellow in there, my yellow thread, my golden basket, and then we're going to sew out the other placement line for the other piece of yellow. And it is a slightly different color yellow. We're on the step number 11 on the top of page 25, if you're following along in the book. I need to be more careful and like watch the book a little bit more, because I have a tendency to just watch what the machine's doing. So sometimes I don't really look at the directions. I like to write in the colors I've used, so that when I do this again, you know, then I know what colors I've used. So otherwise it makes it hard to remember. All right, so now we're going to lay our second piece of yellow. This is a little different, down. And then it's going to tack this one down. I'm going to leave that same color in. I left my golden basket in. Make sure I got my color I need for my center. Yep, I got it. And then we'll trim these. There's a lot of little applique pieces on this one. I like flowers. I was watching a video of a gal making a card, and she was using this beautiful floral paper. And you know, I don't really have a lot of paper, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Like it's sort of like fabric. I think it might cost almost as much or more as fabric, though. But there's so many beautiful papers. It's like, oh wow. I mean, like this whole card thing is sort of like a whole new language to me. I feel like it's all Greek yet, so I'm learning. I'm still teachable. All right. I've been sewing a lot longer than I've been doing paper crafting, so. All right, so let's get these trimmed. I'm going to do the same thing with these. Trim all those little sides close to the stitches. All right. Oops, I got a little tail sticking up here. Get that one. It's gonna be so cute. Yeah, my Mondays are always busy. It always seems like there's lots of appointments and, you know, running errands and all that. So that's kind of my errand day. I'm not usually home much on Monday. Okay, so there is my flower. All right, so the next step is going to be the placement line for the center. Well, we kind of know where that is already, but oh no, you know what? It's not. I think they did do the, I'm sorry, they did the cover stitch, the little motif stitch first. So this, I'm going to leave my yellow in. I skipped ahead a step. So we're going to leave that in. Hi, Margaret. Glad you're here. Thanks everybody for coming and visiting me on Monday. I just really wanted to do this pillow with everybody, and I thought this would be the best way to get it done before the 4th of July. So you can have it out for the month of July. So I have a question while this is stitching. How many people might be interested in the Halloween pillow? Are you thinking about doing this one? Have you seen this one? This is the Halloween one. And it's got about 10 blocks in it. And we could do this one too, if you'd like to do a Halloween one. This one was really cute. And I've already made this one also. And it really went very quickly. So I was going to kind of throw that out there as possibly a class either for August or September. Halloween, yes. Somebody's saying Halloween, yes. Nancy, yes. For Jackie, okay. So I'm not sure. So what do you think? August or should we wait till September? Mary? Oh yeah, the Halloween pillow's on your to-do list. Yeah, I've already made it, and so I would really like to do it again. And it goes pretty quickly, and it has a little bit more embellishment on it. Yes, they can make it made it well, table toppers or wall hangings, Margaret. Yes, because you could just put the backing on and stitch in the ditch and make it into a table topper and put binding around the outside edge instead of the sashings. You could just use the borders and the flanges as borders, and then just put binding around the outside edge. So yes, you could make them into a wall hanging, or you could make them into a table topper. Whatever's good for me. People are saying August. What do you think, August or September? I was thinking either August or September, so hadn't decided yet. Because I do have. Oh, can I put the pillow back up? I will. Yes, I will, Kathy. If you give me a few minutes, I'll put it back up when I put the camera back up. Yeah, the Christmas one. I'm not sure yet about the Christmas one, Mary. I want to see it done. All I've seen is like a rendering picture of it. It's not really like an actual picture of the pillow. So I'm still reserving. I'm not sure what I think about that one because I'm not kind of a cowboy. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I have never seen the actual pillow. It's just like a rendered picture. Yeah, family in Texas. Yeah. So yeah, it is a really cute pillow. Yes. So, but I haven't decided on that one yet because I want to see the actual pillow sewn out first. Then I can decide. I'll probably like it once I see it. Sometimes those pictures, those kind of pre-drawn pictures are not very good. So, okay, so now we're going to go to the center. We're going to do the placement line for the center. We already know where it is, but we'll just do it. And I put my dark brown in. And that's the color I'm going to use for the center, is this dark brown piece. Yeah, I was a little surprised that it was kind of a Western theme. I know that they had done a bunch of quilts and stuff early on that were all sewn patterns. And then now they're making them into these pillows. So, okay. So, because the Halloween one was too, and so is this one. I mean, this one I don't think was. It was the first one. It was the Halloween one was, and then what was the first one that came out? It wasn't, can't remember. Then there's a Lucky Us one. So, okay. So we're going to go ahead and put our brown fabric in here for the center. Yeah, because they did, let's see, they did, is this the third one they've done? Because it was the Halloween. I know the Halloween was. It's Home is Where the Haunt is the name of that one. And then they did the Luck of the Irish one. Lucky Us is what it's called, I think. And I've got that one done too. All right, so there is my placement line and my tack down line for the brown. And we're going to trim the little brown here. But I don't remember, were those actually, I'm not sure if those were actually wall hangings, old wall hangings or not. I know the Christmas one was, and I know the Halloween one was, but I'm not sure about the St. Patty's Day one. This one's new, I think. Okay, oops, a second here. It didn't look like I did a very good job at trimming here. There we go. Got all these little hairs. There we go. All right, so then we're going to do this decorative stitching for the center of our flower. Got to get all those little hairs out of there. They get sewn in and then they're hard to get out. Yeah, it's really hard when they first come out with their patterns. They often just have like an artist drawing of the pattern. It's not like the actual stitch out. So it's always hard to tell what they really look like. Because I did that with like their Christmas quilt that's coming out, the Advent one. So it looks like it's going to be really cute, but I haven't seen the actual stitch out yet. So all I've seen is these pictures. All right, so now we're getting ready to do the bottom. We're going to do the little flower pot here. And that one I am going to use, let's see, my shredded wheat. I'm going to go to a kind of a tan color for that. So here's my shredded wheat. It's number 1141 in the Brother. So we're going to do shredded wheat. All right, so we'll get the placement line for that one. I still got some hairs in here. Second, this one might show through my fabric. It's black. There we go. So we're going to do our placement line first. We're on step number 21 at the bottom, page 25. And we're going to lay our fabric across our placement line. Okay, oops. This one's kind of directional, so you kind of want it to be straight instead of being kind of wonky. So I'm trying to make sure I get it in here pretty straight. Otherwise, my little lattices might look funny. So we're going to tack it down. I got the same color thread in there. Yeah, I really like this size pillow, though. They do go pretty quickly, and they don't have quite as many embellishments and stuff as the bench pillows do, so they do go pretty quick. There's like half as many blocks in them usually. All right. So we're going to trim this one close to the stitches, and I think this one is going to be a satin stitch. I'm pretty sure. Yep, this one's a satin stitch. So we're going to go across here. Get this one all trimmed. Oops, there's a little dent there. There we go. All right. Then we're going to do the satin stitching. And this one I'm going to leave, my shredded wheat in. So I'm going to leave my brown in there. Yeah, so so this pillow's been really fun. I've enjoyed this one a lot. And I really enjoyed the Halloween one. So I thought maybe people might like to do the Halloween one too. But we would probably do that one on Sunday. And it would take the whole month because that one seems like it has, it's called Home is Where the Haunt Is. I think that one had like 10 blocks in it. Let's see if I can get a little closer up picture of it. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think there's 12 blocks in it. But a couple of them are just plain blocks that are just quilted. Like this one is a quilted block and this one's a quilted block. And then there's 2 that are the same here. These 2 are the same. And then this one's a big one. This is a real big block here. And then you have to put some flowers on that one. But this one was really fun. I enjoyed doing the little bug one, and you do the little spider down here. So yeah, this was fun. Very, very fun. And it went very quickly. This one's pieced down here. And then so was this one. This one with the little broom in it. It was pieced as well. So yeah, and I think most of this one, I had to do this big block. When you do the quilting on this one, it was big. I had to have a 9.5 by 9.5 hoop for that one. So let's see if I can get my camera to sharpen up again. There we go. So yeah, so that's on the to-do list. So you guys let me know if you want August or September. I enjoy doing the pillows because they are fun, and I really like those flanges. Doing the flanges, and I like the square pillows. So, how big is the finished pillow? Um, they are, how big is it? They're like, well, with the flange, it's 22 by 22, or like 22.5 by 22.5, but it uses an 18-inch pillow form. This is an 18-inch pillow form. So yeah, I'll hold up the pillow again here in a minute, Kathy. If you can hang out, I'll hold it up when I can put the camera back up. And yeah, but 18-inch pillow forms, and they, with the flanges, it's like 22 inches square roughly. But they're a nice size. They're not quite so big. I have done quite a few of the bench pillows now, and I really like them. Sometimes I make them as they're so long though, so if you don't have room for a bench pillow, but I actually have made quite a few of them into wall hangings and put binding on them, and that looks really nice too. So, and then I hang them up at the store on the wall, and I even have the pillows on the wall. So I've made quite a few of the pillows now. That new one is really cute. Have you seen the 2 scoops? One with the ice cream cones? And Kathy, the Halloween pillow and this one are the same size. So, but yeah, 2 scoops is really cute. I just got the kit. I finally got all the pieces to it. So I'm hoping to make that one sometime over the summer. There's always something to do. All right, so then we got our flower pot, and I think then we're going to sew the little, we're going to sew the little, there's a little ladybug on the bottom of the flower pot here. So we're going to change to red and sew on the little ladybug. Find my red here. This is my old 800 red. Okay. All right. This is going to be the body of the little ladybug, and then we got to do the little head and stuff. So that'll be in the black. I'm going to move my threads around here so I don't get them all knotted up together. I've got black ready over here. And then, I think we're about done. With this one, we're going to do one more block yet tonight. All right, so there's our little body. Now we're going to put the black in and do the little antenna, the little head, and the little spots on the ladybug. Okay, so here's the last little step here. This is step number 27 on the bottom page 25. All right, so gotta see. I think the next one we're gonna do, now we're not gonna trim this one until the end because we're gonna have to sew a little bit on the second block. So let's do the embroidery first and then we'll trim and come back. So we don't have to switch the machine. We're gonna have to switch the machine anyway, but the way this is done. But we'll trim both of them at the same time. It's making the little spots on the ladybug. Looks like I'm gonna have a few little tails to cut. Let's see here. So I think that's the last. Yep, that's the last step. All right, so there's my little ladybug. I got a couple little tails I need to trim on my ladybug, but there's our little flower with the ladybug. Isn't that cute? So we're not going to trim this one yet. We're going to trim it. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one out of the hoop, and I'm just going to lay it over here, and then we can trim both of them at the same time, so I don't have to move the camera so many times. Okay, so here's our first block. So we're going to move on to the pieced block. So get this hoop out of the way, and I've got my next hoop ready to go here. Okay, so the pieced block is the next one. Whoops, my book turned around. Now this one we're just going to piece these little pieces together, and then we're going to cut it in half, and it's going to make this little blocks, these little blocks. But this is all going to be in the hoop right here, okay? So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to piece it in strips and cut it and sew it together. So then we're going to quilt it after the fact. And there's two techniques of quilting. So the first one we just did with the flower, and then this one is going to be technique 2 when it comes to the quilting, because this is going to be a pieced block that's like traditionally pieced, although it is in the hoop this time. Sometimes they piece blocks traditionally, and then you have to quilt them afterwards. Okay, so this is going to be a technique 2. In the quilting designs, it gives you technique 1 instructions and technique 2 instructions. And that's what this one is technique 2. All right, so we have, oops, got to get my little piece of paper out of here. And we had several pieces of fabric. You needed 6 little rectangles. So we had a red one, and then a blue one. Okay, and this the little peachy pink one. And I think there was like my red polka dots. Yeah, the red polka dots. And the tan. And then there's a navy blue. Okay, so these are all going to be pieced in here. And I can't remember where I started. I'm going to lay my pillow in front of me because I don't know that I have the exact same designs, the exact same fabric. Maybe I do. I'm just going to lay it down here so I can see. So I think I started with this peachy pink color. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. Now this time we're not going to bring in the quilting design yet because we need to piece just the block. So we're just going to hoop our stabilizer, and then we're going to do the quilting afterwards separately, because we have to sew these together and make it into a little block first. All right, so I'm going to put my white thread back in, and I'm going to do all the piecing with my white thread. And so all I have is my no-show mesh in the hoop, okay, and 5x7 hoop. Yep, so I just want to make sure I got everything. And I got to go get my design. So this one's called just pieced block. So let me go find it here. Sweet Land of Liberty, embroidery files. And here it is, pieced block. And it's in a 5x7 hoop. Okay. All right. So then we'll do the quilting afterward, after we sew it together. Okay. So the first thing, now this is going to be like the flip and folds. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is stitch out the little template, and it has our numbers here. We're going to start at the top, and it's just a very simple one, 1 through 6. Okay. And when we do these little flip and folds, they're always the same way. They sew out the little grid on your stabilizer or on your batting, whichever you have. So this one's just stabilizer. And then it does the same, the same steps each time to do all of the little pieces. All right, get this a little closer so you can see. All right. Getting our little road map. All right. Yeah, I've got to look at mine and see what I think I did the peachy pink first. Okay. So the trick with these, when you do flip and folds, the first piece is always right side up. So the first one I'm going to put on is this peachy pink, and I'm going to put it up here. And you make sure that you cover that top box, number one. So we're just going to put this up at the top. And the first thing that's going to stitch out is make sure I get it up high enough here, is a trimming and placement line. Okay, so that's always the first thing that sews. And then we're going to trim against that line, and it will tell us where to put the next piece. All of their flip and folds are the same. And then we're going to trim against this line. Up close to the stitches, maybe, if I can get to it. This one was a little bit small. It's funny because you need to leave a little fabric above here so that you have something to trim to, or to for when you're stitching it together. Okay, there we go. Then the next step is always, this one will be right sides together. So if you want it to lay this way, we're just going to lay it right sides together over the first piece. And then the next one is going to sew these two together. And then we'll just continue down in the same way. So we'll flip this over. Okay, so this one flips over then. We're going to finger press it nice and neat up there. And then we're going to go back to that first step, which is going to be the tack down and the placement line for the next one. We're going to trim against that one. Okay. And when you're not using, when you're not using batting, you want to make sure that you give it a nice crisp finger press up here, because you don't want it to be loose looking. Sometimes when you're just working on the stabilizer, it can look a little loose. So just make sure you got it good and creased back there. Okay. So then let's see, what color did I use next? I think I used the white with the little polka dots. Let me see. Yeah. White with the little polka dots. So I'm going to put my polka dots again, right sides together. And we're going to line up those raw edges, and then the next step, we'll sew those two pieces together. So this one's a real easy one. Only takes just a few minutes to do. But then we have to sew it together. So we're going to cut it in half and sew it together to make 2 rows of little squares. So I'm going to finger press again. Flip it down and finger press. Okay, and then I'm going to stitch the tack down in the trimming line. Okay, and then we're going to trim against that line again. This is the same order that they do all of these little, all of these little flip and fold designs in. Okay, and then we're going to, let's see, what color did I use next? Oh, I used the red. I think I used the red. Yep. So we're going to put the red right sides together. line up the raw edges down there, and then this one's going to stitch together next. Go. Do this one. And I think the next one was the tan one. Yep, tan one, and then the blue one they did last. I'm just kind of looking at the pictures in the book. That's happened to be what I had, was the same colors. So, okay, so we're going to flip this down. Finger press that well. Like that. And then we're going to tack it down. And then we'll trim. Just a couple pieces left. Now this one's going to be a little different, that we're going to actually make 2 rows of 2-inch, like little 1-inch squares, and we're going to sew them together. So this one's a little different than some of them are. So this one we're actually going to cut it in half. Okay, and then, yeah, then the tan one's next. So we're going to put the tan one down. And put it right, raw edges even, right sides together. And then we'll stitch that one down. So this one we're going to end up hooping it 2 times because we have to sew it together first, and then we can quilt it. All right, and then we're going to flip this one down. Like that. Okay, and then we're going to tack this one, and then we'll have a trimming line again. All right, and one last time. So this is step number, I'm getting ready for step number 11 in the machine. And it's step number, it's actually step number 27 in the instructions. All right, so then we're going to put right sides together again. I'm going to use my navy blue with the little polka dots. I cut a lot of these out of my scraps because it's amazing. You need so little fabric for most of these pillows that I can get a lot of them out of my scraps. Okay, so then we're going to sew that together. Flip that one. And then the last step is going to be like a tack down all the way around the outside edge, but then it's also going to give us some trimming lines. So we're going to trim this one a little differently as well. So I'm going to flip this down. Okay, and then we're going to do the tack down line, and then it's also going to, this is also going to be a trimming line when we go to trim these. They don't do that very often because, you know, they only use the trimming line method for the trimming when it's a small piece, and these are quite small. They're only going to be like 1-inch squares. Otherwise, sometimes you'll have some, you know, it'll pull in a little bit, and then your stitching lines would not be quite right, or your trimming lines would not be in the right place. So, all right. So this is where we're going to trim it, is along these lines here. Okay. And then we're going to sew these 2 back together again in the opposite direction so that they are 2 little rows of squares. Okay. So let's do our trimmings. Let me go ahead and move the camera over here, because we're going to switch over to sewing and then go back to quilting, or then go back to embroidery for a minute. Let me get this on here, and I'm going to go to the sewing mode just to move the arm out. So I can move this over. Oops, second here, I got to get my cord out of the way. Sometimes I get my little camera arm on so tight I can't get it loosened up. Oops. All right. So now we're going to do our trimming. So let's go back and trim the little flower block real quick. Give me a second here so I can move my computer a little closer so I can see. My chair out of the way. I don't have a lot of space back here, so I have to kind of move things around with me, and the cord on this camera is not very long. Okay, so let's go back to our flower. So the flower, was going to be, I think it was 4.5 by 6.5. So we're just going to use the orange pop ruler for that. And this one did have a little instruction about trimming with the bottom of the pot 1/4 inch above the inner bottom edge of the ruler. So in other words, this is our basting line, so we know that's about 1/4 inch from the bottom of the pot. And I'll just make sure that I have it. So I'm going to put this one in. Whoops, helps if I turn it right side up, huh? Okay, so we're going to put this in, and I've got those lines in there to help me get it lined up. And I want to make sure that it looks like I got a good 1/4 inch in there. Sorry, the phone's going to ring and I can't get to it. So get that lined up. And then I'm going to put the bigger ruler. I always like to put my bigger ruler on top here. Let me go grab the phone here and just hang up because it's one of those scam calls. It's always one of those scam calls, and then they ring like 10 times, you know. Dad doesn't have an answering machine, so I don't like to let it ring. Okay, so I've got it all lined up the way I want it. I'm 1/4 inch. You want the bottom of the pot here. Let me pull back a little bit. You want the pot about 1/4 inch above because that's going to be our seam allowance. And then when we sew it together, it's going to come right to the bottom of the pot, okay? All right, so now I'm going to take my ruler. Remember, I'm left-handed, so I'm going to start on the right. And this is the 4.5 by 6.5 inch one. So I like to start up and pull back into the corner. And we're going to just trim all the way around. I start in just a little bit and then pull back into the corner. Make sure I didn't move that. I don't think I did. Sometimes I have a little trouble with moving. My blade needs to be changed. Okay, and then we're going to go this way and pull the camera back this way so you can see me get this last one. Okay, so there is that block. And so when we sew this together, see, there's our 1/4 inch seam. So then it's going to be right up to the bottom of the pot like that in our seam. Okay, so there's our little flower. Got that one all done. So now the other one needs to be trimmed differently. Lay these out of the way here. And whoops, I gotta grab a ruler. Forgot to bring my other ruler over tonight. Okay, so this one, let's take our second one out of the hoop here. Helps if I put my foot up. There we go. So this one they gave us the lines to trim on. So we don't have to use an orange pop ruler for this. Let's use a regular ruler. And we're going to go on here, and it just says using a rotary cutter and outer trimming and the outer trimming guideline as a guide, trim the block to 3 by 6.5. And then you're going to go down right down the center also. Okay. So it's going to end up being about 3 by 6.5. So like if I measure from the seam line to the seam line, it's just about 6.5. Okay. So we're just going to trim around the outside edges here. So I'm going to line up my ruler with that basting line. We're just going to trim across. And I'm going to flip this over and we'll do the other side. And I left the stabilizer on, so you're just cutting through the stabilizer too, of course. Okay, and do this. This is that little soft stabilizer. This is just going to stay in the block. You're going to have double stabilizer on this particular block, the way we're going to be doing it. And we'll do this and make sure it ends up being 6.5. I think it did. It's pretty close. Okay. Can't get a hold of it here. Keeps sliding away from me. Okay. All right. And then we're going to cut down the middle because this is going to end up being two rows of little squares. So we're going to trim down the middle here. Trim right on the stitching. Like that. Okay. Then we got those two little pieces and we're going to sew those together. So now we got to go over to the machine going to go back over to the machine over here. And we're going to switch over to sewing for a minute. And then we'll go back to embroidery to finish this block. All right, so get the camera moved back over here. Hopefully I don't make anybody seasick doing this. Just a second here. I don't have to move it very far. I need that hoop, and I need the stabilizer in a minute here, so I'll put it close to me. All right, so now let's go ahead and we're going to switch over to sewing for a minute, because then it says to arrange the strips as shown and then use a 1/4 inch seam allowance to sew the 2 strips together. So that's what we're going to do. And I need to make sure my iron is awake over here. Go touch my iron. Probably went to sleep on me while we were working away here. Because I'm going to press those seams open. Put my regular foot on here. And I'm going to put in some regular thread, I think. I don't like to sew with my embroidery thread. I never have. I mean, I do occasionally, but I usually put regular sewing thread in when I sew things together. So I'm just going to put some white thread in. Forgot to get it out, of course. I knew there was a couple things I missed. All right, so I'm just going to put some Pima cotton thread in here, just white, and the needle in the bobbin. Maybe if I can get the machine to thread. And then I'm going to bobbin in. Give me a second. I'm going to plug in my foot controller for a minute here. All right. And then I'm going to use my Q02, which is my 1/4 inch piecing stitch on the Q tab on my luminaire. And it moves the needle over towards the right. So then what we're going to do is it shows us here, we're going to end for end these. So we're going to have, like a blue one on each end and a pink one on each end like this, so that they're opposite of each other. Okay. And the 2 reds are going to meet in the center. I think is what it was. Yep. Okay. So we're going to end for end them like that. Then we're going to put them right sides together. Let's see here if I can get them. And if you get them opposite of each other, you can kind of like mesh those little seams together so that the little squares line up nice. So I'm hoping that they're kind of small, so you kind of want your little squares to line up nice. So I'm just going to put some pins in here to help me. So basically we piece this partially in the hoop, and then we're going to sew it together. And then we're going to quilt it. So we're almost done. This one was a little different. They usually have at least one of these in every pillow or quilt. Okay, there we go. So now we're going to sew this together with the 1/4 inch seam. I need my camera so that it's not in front of my hand here. I've got my Q02. Okay. I'm going to stitch across here. Now I've got these tiny, tiny, tiny little magic pins in here. So you notice I'm very slowly driving over them. I often pull them out, but I didn't want this to scooch on me because I wanted those little tiny squares to really line up well. I have a little trouble with some little squares sometimes lining up for me. Okay, there we go. Now when I go to open this, I'm going to open the seams flat because it's a little easier for me to get them flat since it's so small. If I open them up instead of going to one side, like, quilting, we usually do this, but I'm going to open this up flat. Okay, so I'm going to go over and I'm going to press this on with my iron, and then I'll come back and we will do the quilting. So we're just about done. If I can get the seams apart, that is. These were kind of tough. These were tough ones. There we go. All right. There's my little 2 rows of little blocks, and I opened up the seam on the back. Sometimes when I quilt them like this, it seems like it lays flatter if I open up the seams with that extra little bit of bulk in there. Okay, so now we're going to switch back and we're going to do the quilting. So let me get change back to my embroidery foot, wherever I put it. Oh, there it is, sorry. And then we're going to switch back, and I'm going to quilt this one in white. I did this one in white as well. So I'm going to put my white embroidery thread back in. Sorry, I had to switch threads so often tonight. Sometimes you have to do that. This up here, where'd the bobbin go? If I stick them together, then I remember what goes with what. Okay, and I'm going to slide that one in. That's my embroidery bobbin thread. And I'm going to go back to my white embroidery thread for the quilting. Okay. So now we're going to use technique 2 for this particular quilting. So I'm going to go ahead, and I need another piece of stabilizer. So I've got my 5x7 hoop here, and I have another piece of the no-show mesh, and I'm just going to put this in. Make sure I got my hoop right side up. Does everybody know that the Brother Baby Lock hoops do have a top and a bottom? Don't forget that these have a top and a bottom. There's an arrow at the top, and then there's an arrow right here. So make sure that you're putting your hoops together correctly. A lot of people don't realize that there's an up and a down. Okay, so there's my hoop, and I got my no-show mesh in there. And give me a second, I'm going to go back to embroidery. Okay. So it says in the instructions to use, go back to the first page here. I can't remember which one. This one we use Patriotic 3, and it's 2x6. So I'm going to go into embroidery. Put the camera over here so you can see. Sorry, it has to think for a minute. And I'm going to go into the embroidery. And I'm going to go down to my quilting designs again. So this one is Patriotic, what did I say? Patriotic 3. Gotta find it. Turn to the right page here. There we go. Patriotic 3. So that's the one with all the cute little elements in it. We've used this one a couple times. Oh, there it is. Patriotic 3. And we're going to use the 2x6 embroidery design. So the block by block, because we're doing block by block, because we're going to put batting in it. And then we're going to go 2x6. So it's 2x12, 2x6. It's right here. So 2x6. Going to set that one. And embroidery. So this one is just the quilting. Okay. So these are all though in the same order. And with the difference in technique 2 is going to be that we don't have any extra fabric, because remember we trimmed this down to already to the correct size. So we don't have any extra fabric this time. So we have to do a couple extra little things. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch out the first step, which is always, didn't put my flipper down again. The first step is always going to be the batting placement line. So all of these designs are in the same order. And what you'll see next week is that they put them in the same colors, which is really cool when you're wanting to do multiple borders, or flanges, because you can color sort in your machine, and you can do all of the color, all one thing, and then all the second thing, and all the third thing. So it makes it easier. Okay, so I'm going to put my batting then over my placement line, and then we're going to sew the batting down. So that's always step number 2 in these. And we'll trim the batting. And go down around it, I think twice. Aim a little bit better at that hoop there. Okay. And then we're going to trim this. Let it do its gyration there. There we go. We're going to trim this close to the stitches. And again, I just used my chunk of batting. I don't have the batting pieces cut. You got to trim them anyway, so why spend all that time cutting batting? Okay, so there's that one. Now the next step is going to be very important for this particular block, because we need the placement line for the fabric. So the next one is the placement line for the fabric. And it's going to tell us then where to put that block in there. Because this one, you know, is already the right size, right? It's 6.5 by 2.5, I think is what it ends up being. Okay, and that's what this placement line is. So what I do in the instructions of the quilting designs, it tells you to put this in and tape it. But I'm not real fond of using tape. So what I do is I use glue stick, and this seems to work real well for me. I'm going to put glue stick in between the batting and that placement line that we just put in. I'm just going to put glue stick all the way around the outside edge. Okay. And that seems to work real well for me. And I do this with the flanges and the borders too. And then we're going to take this and we're going to line up that line. We want our block to fit right inside that line. And just take your time, get it in there nice and straight. And the glue really holds it down well. And then I don't tape, because every time I tape, I always get it in the seam, and then I got to try to pick it out. So I like to use this little glue stick trick. Okay, so I'm just going to give it a real good press with my fingers. Okay. All right. Now, the one thing we are going to do, because in all of these designs, I got this one just a little bit askew here. Okay. In this design, you know, step number 4 is normally a tack down, but we already have this at the same size and it's going to tack right along the edge. So we don't need to do step number 4 for this block. We're just going to skip step number 4 because we have it glued down. So I'm just going to skip that in my machine. So I just touch the negative positive needle down here. I don't know if you can see it. There it is. Okay. And then I'm going to go down to the step number 5. Okay. So when technique 2, you don't really need to use step number 4. You can just skip it. Okay. And I'm just going to make sure it's good and tight. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to quilt it. So step number 5 is always the quilting. All right. And I'm just going to leave my white in there. And I do watch these a little bit. You know, I kind of watch it to make sure nothing moves on me. But I've done real well with my glue stick, and then I don't have all that tape on here. All right, so there it goes. It's doing all those cute little elements. It's going to make like the little pie and the stars, and I think there's even one of the little flowers in here too. So this is the technique number 2. So like you would use this on any of the quilts or the pillows that also have like plain blocks that are just like filler blocks that with no piecing or no other applique or anything on them. So, and then this one happened to be partially pieced in the hoop, and sometimes they piece them traditionally also. And this is how you would quilt any of those. So for any of the bench pillows or any of the other quilts too. Because they always have like filler blocks and stuff in them too. It's almost done. I love this design. It's so cute. Oh yeah, it does have a little flower in there. There we go. There's the flower pot. All right, I think that's it. So there's the quilting. So we quilted that one. And then what I did with mine is I just took it out of the hoop and I just trimmed around it with the scissors. You can also take it over to your rotary mat if you want to, and cut it with the rotary cutter. But I usually just trim around it with my scissors because it's just around. I just go around the edge of the block like this, and then it's all quilted. Isn't that awesome? So that was a fun. Those are fun blocks to do, and they have them. They usually have at least a couple on everything they do that are like this. Like the Halloween pillow has some plain blocks, and I think they also had some piece blocks. So there was you use this technique for several times. And that one, there we go. So there is our piece block with our little squares. Isn't that cute? So we got that one done. We got our flower done. I can't remember where the flower went. He's up here somewhere. Where did I put him? He's gone. Somewhere along here is the flower. Oh, here he is. So here's our flower. He's all trimmed and ready to go. Here's our piece block. Here's our... And then these are the two that I have videoed for you. So the little watermelon is done like the cherries last week. And then the pie. So those are all videoed for you. And they will be on YouTube shortly. And they're already probably on Facebook now. Because I had them upload at 8 o'clock. So it's a little past 8. So they should be up there. Okay. So there is all the blocks for Sweet Land of Liberty. And now Kathy wanted to see the pillow. So if you give me a second, I'm going to switch my camera back over so I can hold it up a little bit better. It's easier on the other camera. Get my microphone set here. Okay, second. There we go. So here's the pillow. Kathy wanted to see the pillow again. So here's the pillow, and this is the block we did, and then we did this block over here tonight. And then the other two are videoed, this one here and this one here. Okay. All right. So has anybody got any questions about what we've done so far? So this week is the finishing up of all the blocks. Now next week we'll work on these borders. We'll work on these little borders. And this one says Sweet Land of Liberty on it. So we'll do these, and we'll also work on the flanges to do the embroidery or the quilting on those. Okay. And then the last week of June, we will put this together. So this has been really fun. I really enjoyed this pillow a lot. This has been one of my favorite ones, I think. It was very relaxing to do. And what type of glue sticks, pens are you using? Oh, this one is, I really like these little ones. I use two different ones. This is the Soline glue stick. And this one's nice because it's smaller when you're doing like those little 1/4-inch seam allowances. And then I also use the Dritz fabric glue stick for the bigger stuff. So I use these two, and they don't stick your needle up bad, and they work real well. They wash out. So these are the two that I use, and these are both on the website and in the stores. So those are the two I use. I use the Soline glue pen tonight because it was narrower to go around the outside edge. Okay. So next week, we will not have class on Sunday because it's Father's Day. But next week, then we will work on the borders and flanges on Monday night for Sweet Land of Liberty. So, okay. So everybody have a good week. And I will see you next Monday, not Sunday, but Monday for Sweet Land of Liberty. And I'm really excited to get going on the borders and flanges. So thanks, everybody. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.